Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
The Forever Purge, the newest movie in the Purge franchise, which I've this week watched the entire franchise, which I'll be talking about and making my top 5 list tomorrow in my top 5 of the Purge franchise movies. But this one is the most recent of the Purge movies and the most different, I would say. I enjoyed the franchise right off the bat. I enjoy it. Obviously, the first one, very simple, minimal. It's a holiday once a year. I think it's like March 21st every year at 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. the next day for 12 hours. It is legal to kill people, and you can only use, like, you can't use bombs or anything like that. You have to use guns. But murder is legal. All crimes are legal for 12 hours. And in the Forever Purge, which is the newest Purge taking place after election year, which the events of election year means that the NFFA is no longer in charge of the country. The NFFA being basically what the Conservative Party has become in a lot of ways. It is very much Trump's influence on the Conservative Party, where it's just, they go hard right. So that's the NFFA, which it's interesting that, like, the people in the military, like, identify as the NFFA when that's weird. That's not the best writing. But the NFFA is but they're supposed to be like a new political party that's gained popularity, but basically they're modern day Conservative Party. And there's this experiment that they did in the first Purge, which they did on Staten Island, and basically it's to kill all of the poor people and people of color, which, generally, because of systematic racism, tend to be on a lower economic scale. But the NFFA, because of the Purge, they found a lot of success. So when the normal politician, the liberal, wins in, spoilers, election year, crime goes up, unemployment goes up, homelessness goes up. All these statistics go up, which makes it look like they're doing a bad job. So the NFFA in the Forever Purge has taken back control. They've been elected back to presidency. So the Purge has been reinstated. So the big difference in this movie versus the other ones is that this one takes place in Texas. So instead of being in a city setting like the first one is Staten Island, which isn't necessarily a city, but definitely more of an urban setting. Then you have election year, which is D.C. You have Purge Anarchy, which I think is just New York. I think. I could be wrong on what city Purge Anarchy is from. But this is the first one that's different. Different setting, different thing. This movie opens with 2 of our main characters who are immigrants from South America coming into the U.S. through tunnels, and they're then cut to later on they have jobs where the wife is working at like some plant that does things, and the husband works on a ranch and helps train horses and is a ranch hand. But they're both have moved on. They've both made lives for themselves in the U.S. like so many immigrants have. Like all of the white people that are in this country were at one point immigrants, refugees. Like this country is literally made up of refugees and immigrants. Like we're all immigrants. Unless you're a Native American, you're an immigrant. So starts off showing that like these 2 people, they came to America as immigrants, whatever. It's also the movie, not only does it take place in Texas, in like on a farm, on a ranch, not, although there is part of this movie that they do go to a city later on. but it also is dealing with it's the first time you see the movie doesn't take place at the night of the purge. You see everybody preparing for the purge, right? They've done it again. They've done it before. They do it again, even though it was gone for a while. Everybody's got those shutters that roll down to protect their home. All the immigrants and workers go. They have like their like a bunker type place where they all hunker down for the purge night. So you don't get to see any of the purge. It kind of, I mean, you get to see before the purge, then all of a sudden everything's back to normal, and then, or the next day, and then everything kind of opening up again. You're seeing kind of the carnage that's left behind. So it's your first time seeing the day after the purge. But the big thing is that the purge isn't stopping. And the thing with the franchise that we've seen, if you watched all the movies, that a big part of the purge, not only the government's intent is to kill all the homeless people, kill all the poor people, kill all the, like, the idea, the way they're able to put out their stats of like lower crime rates, lower poverty, all of that thing is because the purge, they kill the rest of them. It's not like they're making a better place to live. It's just if you're below a certain point financially, you're most likely going to die. You're the target not only of just people going out to purge, but also the government supplementing the purge. Like there's in Purge Anarchy, you're seeing that the government's sending out trucks to eliminate people just because it's legal to kill people. So, go kill everybody. Just, of course the government would do that. I mean, they do that in a lot of ways now by making it like the poor tax on everything. It's like if you're poor, it's so hard to like dig yourself out of that place in life, because there's just not systems set up to help people get on their feet, and you have conservatives saying that everybody should just pick themselves up off their feet. So you're getting after the purge, which the government officials that are part of the purge that go out and kill people, they may have stopped. But the other thing that the purge has attracted over the franchise are hate groups. So you got like people from the KKK, you got Proud Boys, which they're not specifically told, but that would be part, like if the purge was real, Proud Boys would be out there trying to kill all the poor people and all the non-white people, all the people that the Proud Boys hate. Similarly to the KKK, similarly to any white supremacist in general. And those groups, those hate groups, are a big part of this franchise because those are the groups that are helping the government. They are on the side of the government as far as the idea to kill people of color and to kill people who are poor and the homeless and the immigrants and all of the people that make up this country that aren't white. So this is those groups not stopping. They're like, thank you, government, for bringing the purge back, but we're just going to keep this going. We're going to purify the country and purge everybody that's not white. So they're taking it a step further than what the government wants. So it's almost like a snake eating its own tail. The government in the NFFA in these movies has propped up and encouraged all these hate groups to help them kill all the poor people and all the people of color. And in this movie, they don't stop. So a big part of it is you see this ranch, which has a few different characters, some of which are like the ranch owner is mildly racist, not like overtly racist, but still the kind of racism that you see in most places where he's clearly racist against Mexican people, and but he's friendly with them, so he doesn't think he's racist. He's got the dad that actually built everything from the ground up. It's like where his kid, like all these, like every kid that has a wealthy parent thinking that they started something from nothing, for which they usually just get their starting money from their parents. And then you have this sister who is attracted to one of the Mexican immigrants. But you see that these hate groups aren't finishing, and the Mexicans help the family because they're there to, they like their job. They're trying to build a life in the U.S., and part of their job is to work with this family who's treated them well despite the fact that they're racist. And the family's like held at gunpoint by one of these hate groups, and the farmers come in and they help them out, and it becomes a thing where these two, it's like Green Book. It's like Green Book, but action. It's like if you were to take Green Book, and it's like, oh, these white people are going to learn that Mexicans are no different from us because they're going to be stuck in a situation where they have to bond. Although the situation is, because of this upheaval, Canada and Mexico are going to shut their borders. So to be safe, you need to evacuate and get to one of these countries. Americans are now the refugees. People in America escaping this country because the government who propped up all of these hate groups are now being destroyed by these hate groups because they're just destroying everything. Everything is burning to the ground in the United States, and they have to get out. So as this movie started with people from Mexico and South America coming into the United States, it is now a race to get out of the United States and become refugees in Mexico. And that premise I enjoyed quite a bit. The action was great, as most of these Purge movies are. Not necessarily inventive, or they're not really doing anything new, but it's still good action. I care about these characters. It's definitely, out of the Purge movies, it's one of the best Purge movies. And it was initially intended to be the last Purge film, but from what I read in preparation for this episode, that the creator, James DeMonaco, who wrote every one of the Purge movies, I think he directed the first 3, created the TV show, which I watched a couple episodes, didn't really get into. I'd watched enough Purge. But James DeMonaco wrote this and intended it to be the last one, but later came up with an idea for a 6th film to make the Purge worldwide, which will be interesting to see how that goes. Because in one of the previous, I think it was election year, there was a whole thing about murder tourism, people coming into the U.S., traveling to the U.S. for the Purge, to participate in the Purge, which is interesting. The world of the Purge is a very interesting place that brings up a lot of social issues, and it's interesting that it's like the quote-unquote woke action thriller. Because most action movies are pretty conservative right-wing beliefs, like guns are everything, they solve all problems. They don't, they're not very dealing with social issues. It's just like, the world is dangerous, get armed now. That's most action movies are like that. Where this one, it's like, it's got like, granted, they hit you over the head with it a lot. It's very heavy-handed, their messaging. But I appreciate that, because most movies don't have that. Like, if you're watching this movie as like a conservative, like Marjorie Taylor Greene watching the Purge franchise probably is like a wet dream for her. Like, she would love to participate in a Purge. She would love to get her guns and go out and kill all of the brown people and all of the poor people that she doesn't like. Same thing with so many conservatives. It's gun nuts. This is like their wet dream. If you're a part of a hate group and own guns, this is your wet dream. This is not a thriller. This is not a horror film, which it should be, which it is for normal people, I would say, who care about humanity and understand what's going on in the world. It's scary. It's a scary time to have to survive a Purge where just anybody can go out and kill people without any kind of consequences. So that's what these friends. It's interesting. to have a movie franchise in this genre that is, I would say, quote unquote, woke. And they're rated horribly. They're all like 60, 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I would say that's, I don't know, it's about right. They're not breaking any boundaries with the writing. There's no characters that are, but there are some awesome moments, and it is a great franchise, consistent franchise. Far more consistent franchise than, let's say, Star Wars. I love to bring up Star Wars and shit on it any possibility I have. The consistency of Star Wars, some really horrible films that I'll never watch again. Well, I probably will for a review. And then some great ones. This one, they're all pretty, it's a very consistent mediocrity throughout this whole franchise. But it does, I think the sum of its parts is greater than something you would get with like a franchise like Star Wars. This one's just, I think it's the consistency through everything. And in this one, the previous two films had kind of for the first time, a related character in Frank Grillo plays a character in Purge Anarchy that is back in Purge election year. This episode has a character, Adela, who is the wife of the couple, the immigrant couple that came to the United States. She is a badass. You want to talk about a female badass in a movie. She is a badass in this movie. And it's great. I really enjoyed the movie, the fact that they flipped it on its head, and it's like it starts off with immigrants coming into the U.S., and it ends with everybody fleeing the U.S. and the immigrants who understand the lifestyle. Like, there's a scene in this movie where they're like, oh, so do you get scared during the Purge? And, did gunshots scare you? It's like, the Purge is every day where I'm from. That's why I'm here. The reason I came to America is because every day of where I lived was the Purge. And what we find out by the end of this movie is that America turned into that country that they fled. But because of their experience and probably trauma from having to survive that, they have almost a superpower when it comes to leading these fragile white people, these white racist people, out of the country. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie quite a bit. The fact that it takes place in Texas is also pretty great. Just scenery-wise, it's not a city. It changes up everything. But also just how of the time, like, it doesn't take much in our reality to change for something like this to happen. Like, it feels like when you watch the news and you see what's going on, and you see how politicians are talking, how conservative politicians are talking, you're seeing how conservative whack jobs are just fabricating their reality to justify their hatred. Like, we are just steps away from this becoming a reality. Steps away. This is like Trump's America, to like embolden all of these hate groups. And then it gets out of control. I really enjoyed the movie, though. Different, like, as far as the franchise, it does so many things different. I enjoyed the franchise as a whole. I thought it was really good. But yeah, the Forever Purge came out this year. Should be a VOD pretty soon. I think you can rent it right now on like Apple TV and stuff like that. So if you're a Purge fan, this was a good one. This is a really good one. The Forever Purge. Get yourself some amazing coffee over at stationhousecoffee.com and follow Station House Coffee on Instagram. That's your place for small batch, single origin, premium coffee brewed in Thetford Center, Vermont, shipped directly to you. Go now to stationhousecoffee.com and order yourself some amazing coffee. And don't forget to follow Station House Coffee. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/Inspired Disorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. Follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Peace out!